4 weeks ago. And everything looks fine. I mean, people are enjoying the fruits of the independence, as they say.
Is there any evidence, any indication to suggest that indeed, when you look in their eyes, when you talk to them, you get a sense that they feel that they are much better off today than they were nearly 2 years ago when they were still part of Khartoum?
Well, Shaka, at this point, the truth has to be said. I've been speaking to a lot of people, some of them my colleagues, people I know very well, who are telling me that this is not the country they expected after the 21 years of struggle, after the 21 years of fighting and the bitterness. According to many people, they are saying they expected more than what they are seeing now. In fact, a lot of people are telling me that before the close down of the oil, people were already suffering. So there is no point to say that the economic situation that is going on in the country right now is as a result of the shutdown of the oil pipeline and the disagreement between Sudan and South Sudan. In fact, most of them are telling them they still cannot afford 3 meals per day. And that has been what some of us grew up, going through.
What is it that the government had promised to do and has not yet delivered on, for example?
Well, the question that begs an answer from a lot of people is that people are asking that if the SPLM-controlled government went to the bush on the platform of development, respect to human rights, freedom of speech, and creation of a political space, why are they not seeing it now? They are seeing the opposite. They are seeing what SPLM went to the bush to fight against in South Sudan today. And they are giving examples of issues of people being arrested for just plainly speaking their minds out. They're giving examples of issues of human rights abuse. And some of them, I'm not saying everybody is saying that, but there is a sizable number of people who are saying this is not the South Sudan they had fought for.
When you talk about lack of political space, what exactly do you mean here, John?
A lot of people are telling me you should watch out what you say. And there is an allegation in Juba that telephone lines are being bagged. If you are speaking on the telephone, you should be careful what you say because it might come back and haunt you. And I was asking them, what do you mean? What is happening? They're like, they don't trust the telephone lines because there are instances of people being picked up and they are surprised why they are picked up. And this is not a good sign for a country that has just come out of a situation of a struggle for freedom of speech, struggle for democratic space.
We're talking about freedom of speech. Are some of those issues, for example, reflected in the media? We're talking about newspapers, we're talking about television, and to some extent, independent radio stations.
Well, the situation down there, when I went there, I saw a lot of radio stations broadcasting. Yes, if you want to start a media station in South Sudan or a media house, you will be given the license, you will be given the frequency, you can operate your newspaper. But what you say in your radio or what you write in your newspaper matters. Because if you say something that the government deems not pleasant, then you can answer for it. And a case in point is the Citizen newspaper has been in trouble with the government for quite a long time, and Nyalbol has been in and out of court for a lot of issues. Another case is the Juba Monitor, which is owned by a veteran South Sudanese journalist, Alfred Taban. He was also locked up because he carried a commentary by one of his contributors talking about how a former governor embezzled some money. And so Alfred was questioned why he put that in his newspaper. And there are other instances of, like, the Catholic Radio Network, one of their hosts was picked right after getting out of a show because he spoke something the security thought was not pleasant to the ears of the public. And that is in the backdrop of the fact that there is no media law in South Sudan. the parliament is still taking its time to pass the media law. Most journalists don't know what is going on, but there has been a constant promise from the Minister of Information, Dr. Barnaba Benjamin Marial, saying that the media bill will be passed very soon. And a lot of journalists are still waiting for that time when the media bill will be passed. But Shaka, to be honest, there is no media law there, and so the situation is a little bit risky for journalists. In fact, most of my colleagues there exercise self-censorship in what they do.
What about the transitional constitution? Doesn't it really provide avenues for people to express their views?
Well, the Constitution is quite clear about freedom of speech, freedom of association, and there's a Bill of Rights in the Constitution. It's one of the constitutions that are rare in Africa, where you have the right to know what your government is doing. But we need to see that when this Constitution is passed, the implementation of it is another problem, because as it is now, there are certain issues in the Constitution that are not being respected. For instance, you can be picked by a police and arrested without any arrest warrant. That has happened. I have witnessed people being dragged by the police. Like a traffic police can just do what they want to do with you on the streets, and that is not constitutionally correct. But, I mean, a lot of people say, I was asking them, why don't you challenge this? They tell you, the government is the lawyer, the government is the judge. Where do you go? Which court do you go to defend yourself?
Talk to us about the issues of corruption, John, because there are really people who are concerned about the level of corruption in Juba.
As a journalist, it is really hard to get to the bottom of the issue of corruption. But what I would say is that after the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, South Sudan found itself with very weak institutions that give way to lack of system. And in that process, if you want to get something done for you, you have to, like they say in East Africa, you have to give kitu kidogo. I was surprised that even the traffic police have started asking for what they call mokoyo or chai on the roads, despite the fact that if your papers are in good order. And if you are going to process like documents for your land, documents for doing business, people ask you for something. That is not a good sign. And sometimes when you are following up your papers in the ministries, you see that somebody is not really wanting to serve you at point. And if you insist and become quite aggressive, then they take you for a noisemaker, or they think you know more than them, or, I mean, it's not also the general sense, but there are some aspects of that being manifested in day-to-day life, in daily business, in some government offices. And that, to me, is a sign that there's a lot of back deal going on there. And with weak system, of course, you expect that to happen.
I'm afraid that doesn't sound like a good way to begin feeling independent or regaining political independence. Is there nothing in particular, John, that you found positive that you'd like to share with us?
Well, there are some positive things. Around Juba town, you can see that there's a sign of development. I grew up in Juba. I came from the village in Juba when I was 10 years old. I schooled in Juba. I can see they've paved the roads, and there are no more dust. You can drive in Juba without seeing a lot of dust unless you move out of the town. That's a sign of development. People are building houses. There's a mushrooming of construction going on in and around Juba town. That's a sign of positive development. And the other thing that I need to point out, Shaka, is that despite these difficulties, people are moving on with their lives. That's also another positive development. They have not gone into the Arab Spring style.